turn myself on here. Can everybody hear me? Wonderful. Thank you, first and foremost, Dr. Norland, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you so much, Kutztown University Art Ed Department, for this wonderful 83rd conference. I had no idea it was 83rd until I looked at the pamphlet, so thank you for including me in this. Thank you for you all for showing up. It's such a great thing to have all of us educators, art educators together. And thank you so much to Frida and for Andrea for sharing your amazing work and what you're doing in the field. So yes, my name is Lyndsay. I go by she, her pronouns, and I identify as a person who has an emotional disability. So I know this is right before lunch. I know this is a hard spot to fill. So just stay with me for the next about 45 minutes or so. And all I'm asking you to do is listen to my story so you can hang out, relax. And there is this power of breath, which I'm so thankful for the other speakers. Like, breath is so important. So let's do it all together. 2 deep breaths, in through our nose, out through our mouth. Ready? Here we go. One more time. Okay, I'm ready. So here is the shoulds that shaped my career: effective teaching through self-awareness and authenticity. So first off, in my career in education, I have to be a student. So being a student, I remember going to preschool, and I actually went to preschool twice because my mom thought I didn't have very good social skills, which I, to this day, still debate with her. I have absolutely amazing social skills. I have a really good personality. I'm bubbly. I love making friends. But for some reason, she thought I wasn't good enough. So I said, okay, I will go back and do preschool for a second year. And when I went back to preschool, it was in a little church in the basement. They had a little classroom, and I just fell in love with it. The bulletin boards, the friends, the activities that we did. And I specifically remember a job chart, and it had all of our little names on it on sticks, like in a little train. And then you got to put, and I was always guilty in getting in trouble because I was always putting my name and switching them out to be next to the cute boy, because I've always been obsessed with boys from a really young age. Ask my dad about that one. So I always just remember just wanting to be with friends and just loving this learning environment. So I was really pumped when I was able to go to elementary school. And elementary school changed my life. So as a student, I noticed that I loved everything. I loved everything about this place. It was a warm, supportive environment. Again, I can remember the smell of book fairs when you would take the books out and they just had that certain smell to them. Or a slate chalkboard. I don't know how many of you have ever written on a slate chalkboard, but it's magic. And not when you're scratching your nails, but when you're writing on it. That is the only time that I ever liked doing math, is when my teacher asked me to go do it onto the blackboard. And again, we had our desk with our nameplates. I mean, everything to me was magical about this place. There was chances for me to really shine and for people to see me, so we had talent shows. And I remember always doing a freestyle dance to either Paula Abdul or Step by Step by New Kids. And it was this wonderful idea that you got to go on stage and everybody just watched you be who you were, and they would clap for you and validate. Like, how could this place not be amazing? I even loved school lunches, because I have mad respect for food service workers nowadays. And back when I was in elementary school, it literally was the lunch lady with the hairnet and the scoop of mashed potatoes. And it was always like your classmate's grandma, so they always hecked you up with extra chicken nuggets because you were standing next to her grandkid. It was just amazing. It was just amazing. So the thing about this as being a student is I relate it to being in an echo chamber. So you're in this room, you're in this environment with people telling you things and saying things around you. So for me in elementary school, people were saying, Lyndsay, you are such a good friend. We like you. You are allowed to share your emotions. You are such a good student. Great job. So when these people are saying really nice things about me, what do you think that does to my self-esteem and the narrative that I'm telling myself? So this was me. I like myself. I like who I am. My emotions are safe to share. I am a good friend. So this was amazing. This is how I felt about myself in grades K through 5. And then we get to middle school and life just completely changes. So I don't know any of my middle school teachers or educators out in here. It is difficult. Middle school, I teach middle school and high school, so I understand. But middle school is this really awkward time where not only our environment is changing, but our bodies, our hormones, so many things are changing. And it's very, very difficult to really kind of understand what's going on. So my story is similar, but it was a lot worse than what my peers were going through. So as a student, again, I had this really amazing experience in elementary school. So here I am thinking my teachers are gonna love me, I'm gonna have opportunities to express myself, and everybody's gonna validate me. I am safe to be who I am. And I was quickly realizing that this wasn't the point anymore. This wasn't how it felt when I was in elementary school. Things were really starting to become different for me. Again, just like all of my peers, my body is changing, my brain is changing, the chemicals, things are happening to me. But for me, for some reason, it was just a lot more intense than what my peers were going through. So I had these impulsive behaviors, or my emotions were multiplied by 10. So if I was happy, I was super, super, super happy. If I was irritated, I was so, so angry. So everything of that I was going through was just multiplied, and it was really, really intense, and it was hard for me to control my emotions. Now, my parents at the time, I give them credit now. Back in the 90s, we didn't really have terminology and research that we do today, but my parents knew something was going on. They just really didn't quite understand. So they were just trying to ride it out. Let's just get through the middle school, see if it gets any better, if anything happens. But it didn't. I actually was dating a boy, and it was my first major breakup. He broke my heart. He cheated on me with a girl named Angel. And I found out, and I got really heartbroken. And heartbroken to the fact that it was rejection. It was one of the first times that I'd been rejected in my life, and I could not handle that. I didn't know how to handle that. So that pain from that rejection, it caused me to do something for the very first time. It caused me to harm myself. So this is the first time that I ever cut myself. I was a cutter. So just to explain a little bit about that to me, it wasn't an attempt for suicide, okay? It was these emotions that were in me. It was these chemicals in my body. It was my body telling me, you need to release these emotions, because words and actions, your words are not going to satisfy this. You are going to have to hurt yourself to release. So I did. I cut myself. And after I did that, I felt better, because my body's urges were telling me to do so. So I did, and I felt so much better that I handled it. It wasn't a healthy coping mechanism, but it helped me cope and get through. And this alarmed my parents so much. So this was the first time that I ended up into a juvenile psychiatric unit at my hospital in my hometown. So I remember going there, and I was there for a whole week. I remember my dad dropping me off, and that was the first and only time I've ever seen my dad cry in my life. So I didn't know, I had no idea the impact that my action was having on other people. So to me, I felt better, but around me, I was upsetting everybody by what I have done. So I'm starting to not feel good about myself, and I'm starting to really question who I am. So I was in this hospital for a week, and then I got released, and I had to go back to school. And when I went back to school, everybody knew. Everybody knew what I had done. And I could tell my teachers were trying to be empathetic, but they wouldn't make eye contact with me. I felt as though it was almost pity, that they felt sorry, but they had no idea what to say to me. And of course, my peers at the time, this was new in my school. Nobody else has ever harmed themselves and went to a hospital, so this was brand new. Of course, I was the center of gossip. So I could hear the whispers. I could hear everybody saying, oh, pss, 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 and they were looking at me, and nobody started to like me anymore. I was like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? What's going on? So again, this echo chamber, what I'm hearing around from everybody else is, you are such a disappointment. Lyndsay, I love you, but I don't really like you. Okay, are you crazy or something? I don't know if it's a good idea to be your friend if this is how you're gonna act. So all of these things that people were saying are really starting to affect me, and it's exactly going to change how I started talking to myself. So these are the kinds of things that I was starting to say to myself. Why don't I see anybody else acting this way? This must be all my fault. I wish I liked myself more like I did when I was in elementary school, but it's impossible because I don't think anybody likes me anymore. What is wrong with me? And the weight of all of these things that people were saying were almost becoming too much to bear. But I knew, okay, I'm going through a lot, my body's going through a lot. Maybe let's just give it a summer break and let's try again in high school. Well, we all know what high school is like too, so I don't know what kind of expectation I had there. But when I went to high school, it was in the 90s, so it's literally like every 90 movies that you saw. You walk into the cafeteria, you have your athletes, you have your theater kids, you have the super smarties, you have the weirdos, and I just didn't fit in any of those categories. So I went into this place where I'm not feeling very good, I kind of have a disadvantage, and I was really starting to lose the passion and the value that I used to have in education. So as a student, I could care less. I had absolutely no value for education anymore. This place was not magical anymore. It didn't fill me up. It wasn't being very positive. I could care less. I used to love chorus, but at this point, I didn't like singing anymore. I didn't like anything. So instead of going to chorus, I would skip school. I'd walk down to a Rutter's and buy a pack of cigarettes and smoke in some random person's driveway, because that's what I wanted to do. If it was raining or if it was too cold, I would go hide in a bathroom, and I would sit on a toilet and put my feet up so if anybody came in, they couldn't see that I was sitting there. It was pretty bad. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was so bored. How am I supposed to pay attention and worry about the periodic table when I am just so upset with what's going on with my body? Again, everything is changing in me. My emotions are so hard to control. My impulses are so hard to control. I didn't know how to respect myself or to love myself. Nobody's around here teaching me these things. All people are doing around me is judging me. They're judging me and saying these awful things about me, okay? And in high school, the words get a lot more descriptive, okay? So all these things that are being said to me are multiplied. So now things that people are saying about me is actually matching what I'm feeling about myself. So this idea of, oh my God, did you hear what Lyndsay did? That girl is so crazy. She should just kill herself. So this word should to me, I don't know what you think should means, and I actually looked it up in the dictionary, and it was kind of what I thought. But should, to me, in my opinion, is just really kind of like an arbitrary expectation, right? So when we use it in a normal context of, I should really get the laundry done today. It's kind of like a thought. There's no commitment. There's no goals. There's no action. It's just kind of like an ambiguous thought, like maybe I should do this, or perhaps I could. So this idea of shoulds, of somebody else's expectations, or even my own expectations of myself, really start to be a big theme in what is going to happen in my career here. So what happened to me in those moments? Again, the narrative that was being told to me. I am crazy. I don't like myself. Nobody likes me. Why in the world would anybody like me? Because all of these things are happening to me, okay? Maybe I am crazy. Maybe this is just the way things are. Maybe I really should kill myself because really nobody else would miss me. I wouldn't even miss myself. So with the weight of all of these things being said to me, being pointed at me, all it could do was make me literally lay down. All I could do was lay and let these words and these feelings and these thoughts of others just absolutely destroy me. This is the first time I ever remembered being depressed. So for those of you who don't understand what depression is, first and foremost, it is not a choice. It is nobody's choice to be depressed. Now, there are millions of people that are depressed every day, and it looks different for every single person, and I will not speak for them. I will speak for myself. When I get depressed, I lay down. Because again, that weight is too much for me to bear. So it's not like, no, I am not saying, I'm just not going to go to school today because I'm depressed. I'm just going to lay around. Absolutely not. For me, what that means is I do not like myself that much. I hate myself. I hate my life that much that my body is refusing me to get up and go through it anymore. Refusing. So for me, what it means to be depressed, and it's a big theme that I still go through depression, but this is situational. The situational depression was coming from what everybody was telling me, and quite ultimately, how I was feeling about myself. So what this did for me was it led me to be an official high school dropout. I dropped out with 2 months to go till graduation. Oh, my parents were so mad at me. Everybody was mad at me. I didn't care. I didn't care if anybody was mad at me. I didn't care if I was mad at myself. I had no values. I had no self-respect. And most importantly, I had absolutely nobody in my corner trying to help me understand how to control myself, having me go get help, professional help. Everybody just let me go. Just go. You're not our problem anymore. So that's what I did. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. And I don't think I had this terminology in the late 90s, but my life was literally like a dumpster fire, right? So I was doing many, many bad things. I was underage drinking with a fake ID. I would come home at 2 a.m. I was doing drugs with friends, right? But they were just people that actually noticed me for that brief moment, and they weren't judging me. They weren't judging me because I was doing the same bad stuff that they were. So we're all just a bunch of like outcasted people making terrible choices together. And in that moment, I felt cared about, kind of. I felt cool, kind of. But I knew I was severely lacking a lot of things besides basic care, basic self-respect, and any kind of hope for my future. So it just took a long time for me to really understand. Remember, Lyndsay, when you used to like yourself? Do you remember when you used to like school? And then I had a moment that changed the trajectory of my life forever. I was sitting at my apartment, probably had a hangover, not doing something good, and a television commercial came on. A television commercial came on for a Send at Home art test. So you call this number, you give them your address, they send you an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper front and back. And it had a picture of a pirate, a turtle, a fancy lady's side profile, a value scale, and a landscape. And I'd never even considered myself to be an artist, but something about that was just kind of intriguing. So I called, I gave him my address, I waited patiently in the mail. I got it, I pulled it out, and I drew. And I thought I was kind of decent. And I was like, you know what, this was kind of fun. Folded it back up, sent it back. And a couple weeks later, I got it back. And lo and behold, I opened it, and guess what was on there? Lyndsay, well done. Good job. This is very nice. So I did something good for myself, and I felt validated. And now somebody else said something really nice to me. It's like, wow, maybe this is something I should do. Maybe I should be an artist. Maybe I should be an art teacher. Who knew? What should I do? So I'm going to come a little bit more fast forward. Being a teacher, first and foremost, I did go to a trade school to get my associate's degree in interior design. Then I went to Millersville University and took all of my tests to become a licensed teacher in PA. And now I'm officially a teacher. I'm officially a teacher. I got a job as a public school art teacher at a charter school. And I was pregnant with my second son at the time. I was so excited. I got to go back to school. I got to go back and I got to smell the school lunches. I got to be in the classroom and setting up my bulletin boards. I got to smell the laminator. It was fabulous. It was fabulous. I'm getting my classroom set up. I had all these intensives. I had all these shoulds in my mind. What am I going to do as a teacher? I should do this. I should do that. I'm going to do this. I am going to make sure that I learn every single one of my students' names. I'm going to show up to all their sports activities. I'm going to show up to their plays. I'm going to validate them and give them a warm, inviting environment where they are safe to share their emotions and themselves, just like that happened to me when I was in elementary school. And this really worked out for me in the first couple weeks. It was lovely. My little loves would come and they would draw pictures for my baby. They would draw pictures of me. I felt included. I felt liked by my fellow teachers. Like, as some of us are called specialists. We all kind of had our own little island, our own little huddle where we would get together and we felt validated in our own because, you're kind of as art teachers, we're kind of outcasts. We're like the cool, weird people that wear awesome clothes that teach really cool stuff. So I needed people on my side. And it was actually really good for the first couple weeks. But then I started realizing my self-awareness. Lyndsay, you can be depressed. And not only is it situational, but it's seasonal too. So when I have big life changes, or when seasons are changing from fall to winter, or winter to spring, my body and my energy reacts very differently that I do get depressed. It looks differently than when I'm very heartbroken or situations from something that's really happening, but I know that I'm going to be depressed at some point. It's just in my DNA. It's who I am. But I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody at school. Why would I? That would be another reason for people just to point and judge. So I didn't. I kept it to myself. I just tried to hold on the best I could. But I know I wasn't being effective. And how did I know I was not being effective? Well, because I wasn't meeting up to my shoulds. I didn't know all of my students. I had over 870 students, and there was just one of me. And I would go back. I would see their little faces 45 minutes once every 6 days. And I tried my best. I had my seating charts. I had everything that I could get. I set myself up. But the only thing that I wasn't set up was here and here. I was looking off of my shoulds and everybody else's shoulds because, of course, you're getting shoulds from the administration. Of course, you're getting shoulds from the parents. You're getting shoulds from everybody. And you're trying so hard. I was trying so hard to desperately make sure I'm satisfying all of those areas. And for me, personally, it was very overwhelming that I knew I wasn't being effective. How did I know that? Well, my mailbox was piling up with really important papers for referrals for some of my students that could need potential services. Oh my goodness. I have to look at my seating chart. I don't know who this kid is. These are some really serious questions that you're asking me about this poor little friend. I am not qualified right now to answer that. I have spent probably 2.5 hours with this person. I'm not qualified to say that. I don't have that authority right now because I don't know the student. So I'm just slowly starting to realize that my shoulds and my wishes and my intentions are just not being met. They're not being filled. And of course, at this time, my baby was about 4 or 5 months old when I went back from maternity leave. I was just missing my baby so much. And I felt bad because my students wanted to spend every time with me. So I literally had like 25 minutes to myself every day. And my students wanted to come eat lunch with me. And I'm sorry, but I would lock myself in my supply closet, breast pumping, while I was looking at my baby crying, just looking at pictures. And it was awful. I'm hearing kids bang on the door, and I'm just sitting there sobbing, trying to eat a sandwich with breast pumping. And I was so mad at myself. I was so upset at myself. Why couldn't I have more energy for my students? Why couldn't I let them come in and have lunch with me? I'm letting myself down, and I'm letting my students down. So the moment I knew I could not be in public education anymore is when I had a kindergarten group. I love my littles. And my kindergarten friends came in. They sat all cute, crisscross applesauce on the floor. And I said, okay, friends, whoever is really super quiet, during the story, you get a sticker. And I had my seating chart, and I was feeling really good, but I had a really special friend who had really big emotions. And this little friend sat as tall as can be, so attentive, paying attention to me. And I got done the story, and I was going through my seating chart, and I was marking off all the names, and I was calling out all the names for the stickers, and I gave my last sticker out, and I realized I got the wrong kid. I said the wrong name. And I realized that, and quickly my little friend did too. My little friend absolutely had a meltdown, threw themselves on the floor, started crying, screaming, flailing their body so bad that their aide had to remove them from my room. My room, because I did that. I did that to that student because I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't remember their name. I just caused this poor little child to have an absolutely traumatic event in my classroom, all because I was not effective. Because I was overwhelmed, I was undersupported, I was underappreciated, and I was not taking care of myself. As teachers, as educators, we are taught to take care of everybody else. Is anybody saying, hey, take care of you? We're taking care of students, we're taking care of admin, we're even art teachers, we're helping other core content areas with their areas. We're helping with math, we're helping with science, we're helping. People are coming into my room asking me for my supplies all the time. But when I needed something, when I was asking for help, what do you think I was getting? You should do your job. Why are you asking me for this? You should just be able to do it yourself. You should suck it up. I couldn't do this anymore. I finally went to my principal. I said, listen, I've been holding something in for a really long time. I have postpartum depression. I can't do this anymore. I'm not being effective. That was really big for me to come out and say that. And after I did, I was really hoping, I really had this he should be understanding. He should really be understanding. He has a wife and kids. I'm really hoping he should be understanding. But without missing a beat, he said, you signed a contract. You should be in your classroom. Okay. Coming back to this echo chamber, you should be able to do your job. You should just suck it up. You should get over it. So again, when people are talking to me like this, I'm already feeling it myself, but when other people are talking to you like this, putting their shoulds on you, putting their negativity on you, what do you think that does to me? It gets so overwhelming that all I can do is come lay down and be depressed. Would anybody else be depressed if you saw all those words? Would anybody else be depressed being talked to like that? Or is it just me? I really don't know. All of these shoulds are just destroying me. Even my own shoulds. These expectations, these vague things that I thought I could do that I put on myself are destroying me. So it got so bad. All I could do was lay. At this point. And I had some serious conversations with myself. Why isn't this working? Why am I not working? I should give up. Now, during my depression, I quit school. I couldn't do it anymore. I quit school. I came home, and this is when the Great British Baking Show just came out. So I was laying there depressed, watching these fabulous pastry chefs making these gorgeous little amuse-bouches, these gorgeous little pastries and puffs. And the only thing I've ever done is really make box brownies and box cupcakes. But I knew in that moment I was going to be a pastry chef. And I even said that to my husband. I said, Matt, guess what? I have a new passion now. I'm going to go be a pastry chef. He's like, okay, babe. I think secretly he knew I wasn't going to happen, but he supported me. Thanks, honey. He supported me in that endeavor because he saw that it gave me a tiny bit of passion. It gave me a tiny bit of spark that I needed to feel like I was helping, I was doing something, I was being effective in my passion. So what I did was there was a local college near us that is for culinary works, and I took the tour. I saw the kitchen, I saw the curriculum, I saw everything that was happening, and for a brief moment, it made me excited to be a student again. But I just couldn't be a pastry chef. There was no passion there. There was no desire there, and I certainly didn't want to wear that goofy hat. There was no way I was putting that on my head. Okay, so I really had to think about this. What about it was getting me excited, though? The thought of being a student again. And that self-awareness component, I know I love being a student. And deep down in my heart, I know I'm a teacher. I know I wanted to be a teacher back in 3rd grade when I would go back into my teacher's trash cans and I would pull out their worksheets and I would take them home and I would put them on my mom's copy machine and I would fill them out wrong on purpose so I could go back with my purple pen and I could correct it. I could put stickers on it. And my mom was even the best. She got me a slate chalkboard back then. And I would line up all of my animals, my Simba, my Cabbage Patch, and I would teach to them. And in those moments, I forgot how much I loved teaching. It's in my bones. It's in my DNA. I know it's what I'm supposed to do. So why is this not working for me? Why am I not working? I should just give up. But then, Lyndsay, I'm so tired of your shoulds. Your shoulds are not working. Nobody else's shoulds are working. So can we change that word? Can we change that word from should? So this is what I had to do. I had to have a really important conversation with myself. And this just didn't take a day. This took many months of me really realizing what I've been through in my life. And I started questioning everybody else's shoulds, right? Like, are these things people saying really true about me? Because just like my mom's like, you're not good at social skills. I'm like, no, Mom, I'm amazing. So I'm just trying to see, are really what these people are saying about me, to me, are they true? So what do I think about myself? So it was that moment that I knew that I had to dig deep and really figure out who I am as a person before I could help anybody else. I had to help myself. I had to know who I am and what makes me me. So that to me is being authentic. It's understanding yourself, what you can change, what you can't change. I cannot change that I have depression. I will never be able to change that. I can make it better, sure. I can ride it out. I can help myself avoid. But I know that it'll affect me for the rest of my life. I know that I want to be a teacher. I know that I love learning and I want to be a student, but how does that look for me? Because I'm not fitting in. I'm not fitting in where everybody else is being. So I had to kind of figure out something on my own. So I spent a lot of time with myself changing my dialogue in my head, that the people who love me, they matter most to me. And I am certainly not crazy, friends. I just never been taught to handle my emotions. I've never been taught to control myself. That's not my fault. It was my fault when I kept letting it go. But I took years and years of therapy, years and years of work to really make myself right, to really understand who I am and that everybody else's shoulds should never matter to me again. Never. So I changed should to will. When you have shoulds, again, my definition of should is this ambiguous, weird, maybe kind of maybe should, maybe. No, I will. I will do these things. I will do these things that make me feel really good. And I will do it in the way that will make me feel good. So then I've decided to become the CEO and boss of my own life. It's really hard to be an entrepreneur nowadays. Especially when you open an organization right before COVID hits. I mean, wow. Okay, when you open up an organization that relies heavily on monetary donations where everybody is so depressed, they don't want to give you anything. But I knew what I was doing was right because it made my heart happy. So as an educator, mother, and boss, this is where I'm able to be effective because I know myself. Again, My self-awareness is I know I'll get depression. Friends, I am depressed almost every October, and it has been that way for the last 12 years. It's the season, it's the temperature change, it's the change of the time. It hasn't really changed in the last how many years, so I'm just going to depend on it for that to happen. So that's my self-awareness. I am not going to plan a bunch of stuff in October because I know I'm probably going to be depressed. I get to choose my own schedule. I get to be with my kids more. I love, love, love being a mother. It's one of my favorite things in the world. When I was working all these other jobs that were full-time, my students were more important than my own children, and that was not certainly my intention. But my students were getting all my attention and energy. And when I come home, I had nothing left for my family. So now I was able to really spend more time with my kids. I got to teach to the kids that I really love too. I love general education, and it's so important, but general education was just not for me. I couldn't handle it. Those 800 some kids it was too overwhelming. I love all your little faces and I wish you well, but I'm sorry. But I am not your best candidate to be your teacher because I know I can't be effective with you. And I wasn't shaming myself this time for it. I was saying, good job, Lyndsay. Good job listening to yourself and knowing your boundaries, knowing your limits. So again, I'm listening to what other people are saying now that I am the CEO and boss of my own life, and it's wonderful. My children, my mom's coming to my party. They get so excited that I get to show up. Even my 17-year-old, he's like, hey, Mom, can we go look at my suit today for homecoming? I'm like, yes, I got you because I'm not going to work today. Let's go take care of that because I want to be in those moments with them all the time. And then working with the kids at the center, a lot of them self-harm. A lot of them are depressed. A lot of them had parents, caregivers, society that is talking to them and treating them just like I was. So I get them. I get to work with a population that I feel closely connected to. And I know I'm being effective with them because not only are they telling me, you make me feel less like a criminal, which is actually a true story, but also anytime you have a tough 17-year-old kid sitting in his orange jumpsuit in an incarcerated setting, and he looks at you and says, Miss, when you coming back? You know that you've made a really big impact because they care about you. He cared about me and wants to know when I'm coming back to spend more time with them. So I knew I was being effective, not only with what I was saying to myself, but what other people were saying to me. So my dialogue changes again. My children love me. I am confident in my intentions. My heart is full. I love what I'm doing. I'm making a difference. I love myself. And I was able to start saying these things to myself because I'm being effective and I'm staying true to who I am and what I want in life. So now I get to be a student again. Yay! Hopefully for the last time ever, to be a doctoral candidate at the University of Pitt. And this is a big responsibility for me. And it was also a great honor to be asked to do this because when they asked for my intent, my purpose, and I was able to say, hey, listen, I really want to help change education. I really want to focus on kids with emotional disabilities. And better yet, I want to focus on everybody. Because even if you're confident, you like yourself, you have it all thought out and together, you can never have too much. You can never have too much social emotional learning. You can never have too much self-awareness, self-management. And what's even more than that is I'm able to say and speak up and say, hey, everybody, guess what? My name is Lyndsay. I have bipolar disorder. I'm a really great teacher and have emotional disability, but I tell you what, I am such a passionate person. I guarantee if you trust in me and believe with me, I will not let you down. And what I got from that was, yes, we believe in you, Lyndsay. We love you for being honest with us. I'm really anxious to see what you're going to do. So find your people that you are allowed to say exactly who you are, because that is the biggest detriment. And I keep thinking back to when I was in elementary school doing a dance to Step by Step by New Kids. I didn't have to think about it. I just did it. There was no choreography. It was just me getting up there and moving exactly how I wanted to and how it made sense. And everybody appreciated me. Everybody loved what I was doing, and I haven't felt that since I got that. So now that I have this again, I have this chance. I am doing my dance exactly the way I want to. I am living my life, and I am sharing what makes me me, and people are saying, great, Lyndsay, we need you. We need more people like you. So I'm sure at this time, you probably have just maybe one question for me, which is, Lyndsay, how can I be effective in teaching? And my answer is, I have no idea, because I'm not you. I know what makes me effective. What are my values as an educator? What is my values as a human being? That's how I know I'm being effective. I don't know what makes you effective. I don't know your story. I don't know what makes you feel really good about teaching or your goals or what your intentions are for that. So I can't help you, but you can. There is such validity in understanding who you are. There is such validity in taking time to be quiet and listen to yourself. Listen, you have all the answers. I promise you. I promise you, you do. So what I'm just going to do is just kind of just leave you with some just maybe thoughts, just some thoughts for you. What is it? What is it about you being a teacher or an educator or whatever your role is? What is it about that makes you feel like $1 million? Are you listening to other people's shoulds and your own shoulds? Are those coming before your intentions and your actions? Because shoulds are everywhere. You should lose weight. You should go do this. Why are you doing that? You shouldn't do that. Stop listening to the shoulds. Because I guarantee you, the people that are just giving you shoulds, you don't want to hear that. The shoulds that you should be listening to are ones when you're asking, right? When you ask somebody for their feedback, when you ask somebody for help, when you're asking, that's when you should listen. Not all this other meh, that people just want to talk. Don't listen to that. Listen to yourself. You have all the answers. So now it's your turn to go be authentic, your turn to listen to yourself and your values. So thank you for your time. Thanks, babe.
Any questions? We have lights to me. Thank you. Any questions? Oh, I know. I was thinking the same thing. The question was, did you record that? And I was thinking the same thing all along and going.
My man Tim did, I think, right? Woo, woo. Yes.
I did see a hand somewhere back there. If you can you yell it out for us, Colton? Is that you, Colton?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Colton. Anybody else? Are you hungry for lunch? Yes. Okay. Some of you might be new to Kutztown and visiting us and not sure where lunch is. So the best thing I can say is follow the pack, right, Julia? And you will be going out the front doors here, and you follow the sidewalk, and please be careful at the crosswalk. There is a button you can push, and the light will change for you. And you're just going straight. Maybe we can get a few of our folks in the lead of that. And we're going to the Georgian room. So the building that's across from us, on the back side of it, there's an entrance that will take us up to the Georgian room. And if you could find your lunch tickets, that will get you into eating faster. And that's for those who have their folders and have lunch tickets. And we'll update you with what is happening this afternoon and the options this afternoon once you have a little food in you. I think that's probably enough information. So safe travels across, and we'll see you at lunch. Thank you.